Today on Larry King Now, one of Hollywood's hottest new stars, Adam Scott. I'm told that the set's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, season 6 and everyone is still friends and happy to be there is a feat in itself.
Who's the biggest flirt?
Rob Lowe. Are you kidding?
Yeah, you know, what else? Plus, the hilarious Mike Birbiglia.
I'd like to think of my shows as like a meal, as opposed to like just serving people chicken wings.
Well, you do a whole bit on being opposed to marriage.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
You seem for it.
I seem, well, you'll never be back, Mike. Anyway, that's all ahead on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Adam Scott, the actor, writer, and producer known for his role as the adorably charming Ben Wyatt on NBC's Parks and Recreation. He stars alongside Ben Stiller and Kristen Wiig in the new film, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's set to hit theaters Christmas Day. Later in the show, we'll speak with the actor and comedian Mike Birbiglia. This is a wild concept, the Walter Mitty concept.
Yeah.
And you play?
I play Ted Hendricks, who's Walter Mitty's new boss. Walter works at Life magazine.
He's fired, isn't he?
Well, his job is becoming irrelevant because they're shutting down the magazine and turning it into a website, much how they did in real life a few years back. And so I'm part of this new regime coming in, shutting it down and getting the magazine ready for their final issue.
You're a bad guy, huh?
Yeah, a terrible, terrible person. Not a nice person at all.
And Mitty is a guy who fantasizes about being other things, not being other people, but in adventuresome situations, right?
Yeah, he's kind of living his life through this fantasy world that he creates for himself. And over the course of the movie, his reality becomes actually even more interesting and fantastical than his fantasies were at the beginning of the movie.
Did you watch the earlier movie?
I did. Well, I saw it a long time ago, and then watched it again before we started.
I think the original was played pure comedy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now this is not, right?
Not pure comedy, although there are a lot of hilarious kind of old school Ben Stiller type moments that are really, really funny.
Do you like being a villain?
I do. I've done it a couple of times, and it's really, really fun. Just because I think a-holes are really funny. I love watching them in real life, and then I love playing them, and I like watching them in movies and stuff, but mostly I just kind of find them fascinating in real life.
Easier to play bad?
That's a good question.
I know a lot of actors prefer it.
I don't prefer it. I enjoy it, but I think it just depends on the material. Sometimes it's difficult, but I think that it all depends on the character. I try not to play them as bad. I try to play them as...
You play them as
yeah.
They don't think they're bad.
The script takes care of that. They put you in a situation where you're doing the wrong thing, and you just have to play it like you're being reasonable.
My friend, the bad person doesn't comb his hair in the morning and say, I'm bad.
Right. They think they're the nicest
fine.
person in the world.
They're doing the best they can.
Yeah, for sure.
Ben Stiller directs it, right?
Yeah.
What was it like to have him, I know Woody Allen does a lot of that, where he directs and comes into the scene?
It was great. I was really inspired watching Ben direct and star in the movie, just because this is an enormous movie, an enormous task, and much like Tropic Thunder, his previous movie was, and to watch him create this whole world, because the movie really is taking place in a bit of a hyper reality, and then there's the hyper reality of his fantasies.
He does wild things, Mitty, right?
Yeah. And
so give me the modus operandi. He stands behind the camera, mm-hmm. He says action, and does he say action and then run into the scene? Well, or does the AD say? Yeah,
he usually has someone in the scene, in the same wardrobe, just standing there so he can set up the shot properly. And you go through the scene a couple of times with that person, and he'll come in, go through it a couple of times, and then say action, and you just do it. And it's amazing because he has to keep his eye on absolutely everything, but the performance he ends up giving in Walter Mitty, you would never guess that he was thinking about anything else, because it really is a transformative performance.
I'm told there's a scene, and you have a fight on 6th Avenue. What is that?
We shot, it's a fantasy sequence that Walter Mitty has where he and I get into a big brawl, and we fall out of I guess it's the 60th floor of a skyscraper, land in the street, and we're fighting over a Stretch Armstrong doll. And we shot it for weeks out on 6th Avenue, being pulled by a truck up on wires going 45 miles an hour down 6th Avenue.
What time of day?
In the middle of the day. We were doing it on weekends, so there wasn't as much traffic, but there were tons of tourists around, of course. And it was 100 degrees out because it was in the middle of summer. It was super fun. It was an experience like no other. I was scared out of my mind because, I mean, I know there's a stunt crew around. These guys did like the Bourne movies and stuff, but stuff goes wrong. And I was just, you know, crossing my fingers the whole time. Meanwhile, Ben is, you know, unhooking himself and running down to the monitor. He's not scared at all, but I was petrified.
Now tell me about Parks and Recreation. Rob Lowe and Rashida Jones are gone, right?
Yeah, their final episode is, I believe, in February at some point.
I'm told that the set's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, it's really fun. There's a lot of, everyone's really happy to be there, which is great. I mean, season 6 and everyone is still friends and happy to be there is a feat in itself. As we know, you know, TV shows are, you know, where people get on each other's nerves, especially after 6 years. But everyone there, we hang out when we're not working, which is
great.
Crazy.
Who on the set of Parks and Recreation is the biggest prankster?
The biggest prankster would be Aubrey Plaza.
Who has the highest maintenance?
The highest maintenance would be
Go ahead, lay it out.
Jim O'Hare. No, it's not. That's all I can think of.
Who's the party captain?
The party captain, Amy Poehler.
She is.
Yeah.
Who's the procrastinator?
Me.
The suck-up?
Offerman.
The nice guy or gal?
Pratt is one of the. Chris Pratt is an incredibly sweet person, and Poehler is incredibly. Everyone's so nice. It's hard because everyone's.
You break each other up.
Yeah, because there's a lot of improvisation. Yeah. It doesn't always make it on the show. Poehler has a good description of improvisation, which is let's try one longer and less funny. And we usually do it, and it's really long, less funny, because the writers are so great. We're never going to get better than that, but they throw bits in every once in a while.
Who's the biggest flirt?
Who would be the biggest flirt? Rob Lowe. Are you kidding?
No. What can we expect the rest of, you know, what else? The very busy and very talented Adam Scott. Now, it's the greatest event in television history, and Adam is in charge of that. Yeah. And I have no idea what we're talking about. More on that after the break. We're back with Adam Scott. Christmas Day, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty opens. Adam is one of the featured stars, along with Ben Stiller, the actor and director, and the very funny Kristen Wiig, who is a riot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Off and on, she's a riot.
Yes.
Okay, what is the greatest event in television history?
Greatest event in television history is a show my wife and I created, where we take opening credit sequences from television shows from the 1980s, and we recreate them shot for shot. We did a shot-for-shot recreation of the Simon and Simon opening credits with John Hamm and I. We did Heart to Heart with Amy Poehler and I. We did...
Where does this show?
On Adult Swim, which is the Cartoon Network at night turns into Adult Swim.
Well, that's a wild network.
It's more just kind of weird than dirty.
How'd you get this idea?
Well, one night, John Hamm and I, who were friends, and we were emailing each other YouTube links to opening credit sequences from when we were growing up in the 80s, like Magnum P.I. and The Cosby Show, stuff like that. And the last one, we did it for a couple of hours, and the final one we sent to each other was Simon and Simon, and we sent it at the exact same time, and watched it and agreed, this is the best one. This one is just an epic, perfect credit sequence. And I just said, we should do this shot for shot. And he said, yeah, totally, that would be great. And then I pitched it to Adult Swim. kind of offhandedly, they wanted to do it, and so
How often do you do them?
Well, we did. It's been a year and a half, and we've done 4. We have one more that's going to air January 23rd.
Which is?
We keep it a secret until it airs.
Okay, I see. So we don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like,
I know, but you don't know.
sounds like you know, but I don't know.
I have one thing on you, Larry.
Okay.
That's it.
My wife appeared in Simon & Simon.
She did, really?
Yeah. She played the lovely girl solving a crime.
Oh, that's great. I love that show. It's a terrific show.
We have some social media questions for Adam Scott. Addison Mitchell6 on Twitter wants to know, is Amy Poehler a good kisser?
Of course. Of course.
At Dave's Gone China asks, how can we get Larry King on Parks and Rec?
All you have to do is show up.
Just show up?
And you'll be on Parks and Rec. I guarantee it.
Tell me where to go and I'll go.
Okay.
John Hausman on Facebook wants to know, any chance of a Step Brothers sequel?
I hope so. I don't know. That would be great.
KJM 1016 on Twitter. What is it like to work on Party Down, and why was it canceled?
It was canceled because the series finale had 16,000 viewers. So what can I say? That's the way it goes.
Okay.
But thank you. I love that show too.
What is there another movie you're going to be in?
Well, Party Down, I think they want to make a movie or more.
Based on 16,000 viewers,
Yeah.
they want to make the closed opening night?
It's grown since then. People have it's kind of gained a following since it got canceled, but I don't know if it'll ever be revived or not.
How'd you hook up with John Hamm? You were both kids.
We kind of came up together in L.A. We used to not work at all, and so we would just go and drink beer and talk about how great it would be to have jobs.
Did you have were you waiters or something?
We both made a living at it. We were doing like guest spots. I remember we each did CSI Miami back to back, and we were pretty excited to each have a guest spot on CSI Miami. And then we both got on shows, and it kind of changed. It was really great.
It's the lowest paying profession of all is the Screen Actors Guild.
What do you mean?
The average pay in the Screen Actors Guild is the lowest of all trade unions.
Yeah, because 90% of them are not working.
Yeah.
John, by the way, John Hamm is on a show called Mad Men. I don't know if...
He'll never make it.
Yeah,
I heard about it.
everybody should watch the show. It's great. We should help them out.
It's really like Party Down. It's got about the same chance. All right, let's play a little game of You Only Knew. What was the moment you knew you made it?
Boy, it's been a long, slow crawl, Larry. So
was there a moment though?
There was a moment. I got a small part in The Aviator, and when I got the call that got that part, yes, I played his press agent, Johnny Meyer. I got this role, and even though I had a long way to go career-wise before I would actually have a sustaining career, getting the call that I got that role and would be spending the summer in Montreal with
DiCaprio.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, not bad.
That was a big moment.
Worst audition?
How about all of them?
You remember the first girl you ever kissed?
Yeah, it was...
what was her name?
Lana Fry.
Lana Fry, and where was this?
In Santa Cruz, California, in Branciforte Junior High.
Oh, junior high, you got your first kiss.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer there.
If not acting, what would you do?
I always kind of wanted to be like a rock journalist, like for Rolling Stone or something. Yeah.
Proudest moment?
Proudest moment? Kids. I have 2 kids when they were born. And
how old?
They're 7 and 5.
Boy and a girl?
Yep.
Nothing like kids.
Oh, my kids just this weekend watched 3 Amigos 2 nights in a row, and that made me incredibly proud. By choice.
Hey, you're great, Adam.
Oh, thanks, Larry. Thanks for having me.
Christmas Day. Thanks to my guest, Adam Scott. Check out his new film, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, in theaters Christmas Day. Also, don't forget to watch Adam on Parks and Recreation, Thursdays on NBC. When we return, the very funny Mike Birbiglia. Join us. Stay tuned. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much, sir.
We're back with Mike Birbiglia, a very funny comedian, actor, filmmaker, and writer. Known for his confessional style of stand-up, his latest special, My Girlfriend's Boyfriend, is available on Netflix and DVD right now. Mike also has a new show called Thank God for jokes, and he's taking that act across the country throughout 2014. Thanks for coming. You're a monologist. That's a throwback to the age of the Alan Kings and the Seinfelds and the people who stand on a stage and tell stories, right?
Yeah, I think in a way it is, yeah.
How did that start for you? Were you a funny kid in high school?
I don't think I was. I don't think I was. I always feel like the class clown was the mean guy in class who walked in the room and was like, "You're fat, you're gay, I'm out of here." I was always a little fat and a little gay. I never got along with that
So
guy.
how did it start for you?
I just think I feel like in high school I was the kind of kid who was writing articles for the newspaper. I was in student government. I was all about kind of organizing people, and I always feel like, organizing the dances or the graduation or the events, and I feel like in a way that's what stand-up is. It's like you're kind of getting a group of people and you're trying to convince them of ideas that you have and convey those ideas.
And how did you turn all that into stand-up comedy?
Well, when I was in college, I won the funniest person on campus contest.
What school?
Georgetown. And
Great school.
Yeah, it was a great school, and then one of the prizes, I won I just forgot about this, but they gave me a check for $200. It was like one of those big checks, which is hilarious because $200, it probably would cost that much to print a big check. And then the other prize was to perform at the DC Improv, the Washington, D.C. Improv Comedy Club. And so I performed, I opened one night for Dave Chappelle. This is long before the Chappelle Show, and then I asked if I could perform there again, and they said, well, no, but you can work the door. You can sell tickets and things like that. And so that's what I did. All through college, I worked at this comedy club.
Your form is storytelling, right?
Yeah, and that's what it evolved into. What happened was, I started out, I moved to New York to become a comedian. None of the clubs, there's about 40 of them, none of them wanted me to perform there because I wasn't good at it yet. And so what I did was I drove my mom's station wagon around the country to areas of lesser comedy concentration, like Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia.
Owning your style.
Yeah. And then along the way, I started telling stories. There's this storytelling series that became a radio show called The Moth. I started doing some stories on there. I started doing some stories on This American Life on public radio, and then eventually I developed these long shows.
I like to tell stories as opposed to jokes.
Yeah.
Stories have a theme, right? A beginning and end, going somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, I like to think of I'd like to think of my shows as like a meal, as opposed to like just serving people chicken wings.
Well put. Are all the stories true?
Yeah. Although I certainly embellish. I mean,
I have to embellish.
Yeah.
I tell stories when I was 18 years old. Well, a lot of it is from memory, but there are little embellishments.
Yeah.
But the essence of it is true.
Yes.
The core of it is true.
Yeah, my director, and this was directed by Seth Barish, who's a great theater director in New York City, and we always talk about the emotional truth of what we're doing.
Right.
If you're ultimately trying to convey an emotional truth, then that's what you're there for anyway.
Do you think pain is a recipe for comedic success? Do you think all comics have some?
I think so. Don't you think?
Well, Neil Simon said all comedy is based on tragedy.
Yeah.
It's the reverse of tragedy. Divorce, bad things happen.
The comedy will never go away because life is painful and pain equals comedy.
Do you see the difference between saying funny things and seeing things funny? That used to be described as the difference between a comedian and a comic.
Yeah. That one's too confusing for me. I've heard
me.
that
I
a
don't know
million
which is
times.
which.
Yeah, I've heard it a million times. Explain to me, and I never quite get it.
Now, there's one thing I got watching you. You do a whole bit on being opposed to marriage.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Sure.
Why people shouldn't be married.
You seem for it.
I seem, well, you'll never be back, Mike. Anyway, but you're married.
I am married, yeah.
So that is a false bit then, right?
It's not a false bit. I lead people down a journey where I explain to them that I really never intended to get married in my life, and that's what the whole show is about. Is that when I was a kid, I never looked at my parents' marriage or anyone who'd been married more than 30 years and thought, I got to get me some of that. It just didn't seem like people were happy. And I would say, I don't want to get married until I'm sure that nothing else good can happen in my life, you know. And then at a certain point, you know, the series of events happened in my life where I had this car accident and I had a bunch of things happen with my now wife Jenny. And I say in the show, I still don't believe in marriage, but I believe in Jenny, and I've given up on the idea of being right.
Well put. You have children?
We don't have children. We have a cat.
Do you want children?
I don't know. Maybe. You seem for that as well.
I have 3 grown and 2 little. They're nothing like children.
Yeah.
Nothing. And they're funny.
Yeah.
You want to get humor.
That's true.
Get kids.
Nothing funnier than kids. I got a bunch of nephews and a niece.
That's good.
Hilarious.
Coming up, he calls himself a sex maybe. I'm getting into the strange mind of Mike, and we're going to play a little game, too, right after the break. You come up with this title, which, of course, is you.
Yeah, I guess that is, yeah. It's the double entendre that ultimately is me, yeah.
Have you been...
No, let me explain it to you, Larry, please.
Have you been criticized?
Sure.
Yeah. Does it hurt you?
Sure.
Do you take it personally? Have you ever had a critic teach you something?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I actually, I have to say, like, I read my reviews, which a lot of people say don't do, and I listen to the notes. I listen to it.
Really?
Because when I'm in process, I feel like the audiences are critics. I feel like my wife and my brother and my director and all these people are just part of a dialogue about what ultimately this is going to be. And if my voice is strong enough, it'll show through all of that stuff and it'll use the information that's there.
You like writing, you like acting.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself doing stand-up forever?
I think so. It's so hard to say. You know, you look at Carlin and Cosby. You know, there's people who've done it really well.
Cosby's a classic storyteller.
Oh, he's incredible. There's no one better.
Great too. Cosby.
Yeah. I mean, Cosby was the first special I ever saw when I was a kid, and I just lost it laughing. Just lost it. Just
Noah.
Like, how can someone be this funny? Yeah. And the Bill Cosby himself, all the Dad is great, give us the chocolate cake stuff, just killed me to a point, you know, and that's what I love about comedy is that euphoria. I remember watching it with like my friend Matt Beaton in his basement, and like just the euphoria you feel with someone watching it, and that's actually what my whole new tour is about. Thank God for Jokes. It's a whole new show about how comedy is, you know, jokes are a thing that sometimes can alienate you from people, but sometimes make you feel closer to anyone.
There's nothing like a great joke.
Yeah.
I mean, storytelling is wonderful and it's fine, but a great joke.
Yeah.
But now, wait, they want us to do something here in which we take something at random out of here and tell a story about it.
Okay.
And you want to go first?
I'll do that, sure. And we don't know what's in here.
I don't know. You grab one, I'll grab one.
Okay.
Okay, what's
Mine
yours?
says, no one tells you that about falling in love.
All right, what does no one tell you about?
No one tells you that about falling in love. I think it's that when you fall in love, there's nothing you can do about it.
I would add on to that. There is nothing you can do about it. And you know how you know when you're in love? When you can't reach them on the phone.
What do you mean?
When they're not there. You know, in other words, you meet some girls, you can't reach them, forget it.
Yeah.
Or they break a date with you, so what?
Yeah.
But you meet a girl, you go out 3 or 4 times, and then she calls one day and she can't make it that night. And you're destroyed. Your life is not the same.
Yeah. I remember when I met Jenny, I met Jenny in St. Louis. She was there on business. And I immediately fell for her in this way where I just need to see her. I just have to talk to her. I just need to. And when we got back to New York, she lived in New York too. I was like, I just want to spend all this time with her. And I was like, oh, great. It's almost the best and worst feeling simultaneously.
I met Sean. We were dated a few times, and she was recording in Nashville, and I was in Philadelphia interviewing Colin Powell. And I had called her all day and never reached her. She was in a recording studio, couldn't reach her in the hotel, never reached her. And we dated about 4 or 5 times, and I was falling in love.
Yeah.
And I'm going on the air with Colin Powell, having never reached her. And I'm like this. He goes, what's the matter? And I tell him about this girl. I can't reach her. Then I have to ask him questions. We go to break. As soon as I go to break, did she call? Anybody have the control room? And then finally a girl came over and said she called. When we got off the air, Colin Powell says, what's her number? And he called her and said, listen, you either tell this guy you want to be with him or not, because you're destroying this man.
Wow.
He's in pain. So Colin Powell increased. He sort of told her that this is the real thing, because the man is a mess.
Yeah.
But then after a while, now she don't call it. She don't call.
You know, someone said to me once when I was deliberating about whether or not to get married, because I was so torn on it, my friend Colette said to me that one of those pieces of advice that I think I'll always take with me. She said, if you're with someone, she said, the world is so hard, life is so hard, and if you're with someone and they make your life a little bit easier, then you marry them. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and then, do you want to know how to keep a marriage always going?
How?
As soon as you open your eyes in the morning, just say, I'm sorry.
That's smart.
That covers yesterday
Yeah.
and what could come today,
Yeah, I
right?
like that.
We do a little thing at the end of a show. We do if you only knew. I just throw these out at you.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite comedian of all time?
You know, it's so hard to say. I think Cosby's in there. Everybody says Pryor. You know, like most comedians say, they'll say Pryor, and I love Pryor. I probably would too. I mean, I feel like Live on the Sunset Strip was really impactful for me in that when he tells a story about freebasing on cocaine and lighting himself on fire. And it was this, for me and my director, when we made Sleepwalk with Me, it was built around that idea of if we can make this thing, because I jumped through a second-story window sleepwalking, if we can make that funny the way that Pryor made running on fire funny, then that's great.
The whole secret, when you have bad things that happen to you, when I tell stories, most of them are bad things that happen to me. That are funny now. It's foxhole humor. It's funny now.
I think it's
wasn't funny when he was running down the street on fire.
No, yeah, absolutely. I had the other day, I was at a party and somebody goes, "Oh, you're a comedian. How come you're not funny now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just going to take this conversation we're having and then repeat it to strangers, and then that's the joke. You're the joke later."
That's right. You are. What's your pet peeve?
Oh, just in life? What's your pet peeve? There's so many things.
You don't have a lot of pets.
I think just being cheated and disrespected by like corporations or companies or restaurants and things.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
Yeah, often.
You talk about lying in your special. Do you have a tell when you lie? Do you lie?
Wow, that's a. I think maybe when I say to be honest. To be honest with you, or honest?
To be honest with you, that's coming. You know that's
honestly,
a lie.
Yeah.
If you weren't a comedian, what would you be?
Hopefully a teacher.
Oh.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher or a comedian or a rapper or the owner of a pizza restaurant where third graders could hang out. Those are my goals.
Maybe
I was in third grade at
Why
the
don't you
time.
combine all of those?
Yeah. Well, the third grade pizza model is just not sustainable. There's just not enough audience for it.
You're a great talent.
Oh, thank you very much, Larry.
We'll be touring all next year. Thanks to my guest, Mike Birbiglia. I love that name. My Girlfriend's Boyfriend is available on Netflix and on DVD. It's hilarious and poignant. And if you want to see him live, Mike's tour, Thank God for Jokes, goes nationwide starting in January. Visit birbigs.com/tour dates for your ticket information. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.